Admiral John Carter stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant, his eyes fixed on the massive view screen that dominated the front wall. The alien ships hung in space like enormous black daggers against the starfield, their hulls gleaming with an oil-slick iridescence that no human engineer had ever designed. "How many?" John asked, his voice steady, despite the flutter of fear in his chest. Lieutenant Susan Miller looked up from her console. 17 capital ships, sir. Plus at least 30 smaller vessels that appear to be fighters or support craft. John nodded and straightened his uniform jacket. He had spent 27 years in the United Earth Space Force. He had seen combat during the Mars Rebellion. He had faced death more times than he cared to remember. But nothing had prepared him for this moment, humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization. And they had arrived with a fleet of warships. "Any response to our greeting message?" he asked. Communications Officer Peter Grant shook his head. "Nothing yet, sir. Wait. Incoming transmission." The view screen flickered, and John found himself looking at an alien face. The creature had gray-blue, skin with ridges where eyebrows would be on a human. Its eyes were large and entirely black, with no visible pupils. When it spoke, its thin lips barely moved, revealing glimpses of sharp teeth. "People of Earth," the alien said in surprisingly good English. "I am High Commander Vexorn of the Vaxuri Dominion. Your planet is now under our protection and control. Surrender your military vessels and prepare to accept Vaxuri guidance." John felt a chill run down his spine, but kept his face neutral. "This is Admiral John Carter of the United Earth Space Force. We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations, but Earth is a sovereign world. We do not surrender to demands." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your bravery is noted but misplaced. The Vaxuri Dominion has conquered 17 worlds across 3 star systems. Your technology is primitive compared to ours. Resistance would only lead to unnecessary suffering for your people." The screen split to show images of massive weapons firing from Vaxuri ships, devastating alien cities on worlds unknown to humans. "You have 6 of your Earth hours to surrender. After that, we will begin orbital bombardment of your major population centers, starting with what you call New York City." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in silence. "Send the alert to Earth Command," John ordered after a moment. "And get me Director Diana Evans at Lunar Operations immediately." Within minutes, Diana's face appeared on the screen. Despite the crisis, she looked calm, her silver-streaked black hair pulled back in its usual tight bun. "We saw everything, John," she said. "The President is being briefed now. The Security Council is meeting an emergency session." "What are our options?" John asked. "The Defiant is the most advanced ship in our fleet, but we're outgunned and outnumbered." Diana's expression changed, a small smile appearing on her lips. "That's what they think, John. It's time to activate Protocol Omega." John blinked in surprise. "Omega? That's not just a contingency plan?" "Did you really think we've been building nothing but research stations on the far side of the moon for the past 50 years? Diana asked. "Ever since we recovered that scout ship in Arizona in 2072, we've been preparing for this day." John felt a mix of shock and hope. The crashed alien craft had been the most closely guarded secret in human history. Only a handful of people knew that humanity had reverse-engineered technologies from it. "How much time do you need?" he asked. "Keep them talking. Stall for 3 hours, that's all I need." The screen went dark. John turned to his crew, who were watching him with expressions ranging from fear to determination. "Susan, I need detailed scans of their ships. Look for any weaknesses in their design. Peter, prepare a response message. Tell them we're considering their terms but need to consult with our world leaders." "And then, sir?" Peter asked. "Then we play for time." The next 3 hours were the longest of John's life. The Vaxuri sent increasingly impatient messages, demanding immediate surrender. John responded with requests for clarification about the terms, questions about Vaxuri culture, and diplomatic delaying tactics. Just as the alien commander was about to cut off communications for the final time, John received a simple text message on his private channel. "Omega active. Coordinates sent." "High Commander Vexorn," John said, allowing himself a small smile. Before you make your final decision about Earth, there's something you should see. The alien's black eyes narrowed. More delays? Your time is up, human. Not a delay. An introduction. John nodded to Peter, who tapped a sequence into his console. The main view screen split to show a new view. On the far side of the moon, hidden from both Earth and the alien fleet, massive bay doors were opening in the lunar surface. From these enormous hangars rose ships, dozens of them. They were sleek, with lines that suggested both human and alien design influences. From the asteroid belt, what had appeared to be mining stations suddenly detached from the rocks and revealed themselves as heavily armed battle cruisers. Near Mars, the surface of Phobos, one of the small moons, began to shift as sections of what had seemed like natural terrain folded away to reveal weapon emplacements. "What is this?" the Vaxuri commander demanded, his voice losing its confident edge. "This," John replied calmly, "is humanity's real fleet. What you've seen until now were just our civilian and early-generation military vessels. Did you really think we discovered we weren't alone in the universe and didn't prepare?" The Vaxuri commander's face showed the first hints of uncertainty. "Impossible. Our intelligence indicated your species had only achieved basic space travel. You should not have this technology." "Your intelligence was wrong," John said. "We've been watching the stars for a long time. We intercepted communications between your ships and others. We've been learning about you while keeping our true capabilities hidden." On the tactical display, John could see the new Earth ships moving into strategic positions, surrounding the alien fleet. The lead vessel, the UES Deterrent, was twice the size of the Defiant and bristling with weapons that even John had never seen before. "This is Admiral Diana Evans of the United Earth Defense Force." A new voice cut in as Diana's face appeared on a portion of the screen. "Your ships are now surrounded. You have entered Earth space with hostile intent. We demand your immediate withdrawal." The Vaxuri commander looked from Diana to John and back again. "This changes nothing. We still have the firepower to destroy your major cities before your ships could stop us." "You could try," Diana acknowledged. "But I don't think you'd succeed, and I know you wouldn't survive. Take a closer look at our weapons." Data streamed across the bottom of the screen. Information about the Earth fleet's capabilities being deliberately leaked to the alien ships. The Vaxuri commander's eyes widened as he read the information. For the first time, John saw something that looked like fear on the alien face. "We expected Earth to submit," John said quietly. "That was your first mistake." Dr. Olivia Barnes watched the massive holographic display in the center of Lunar Command with intense focus. The blue dots representing Earth ships moved into formation around the red cluster of Vaxuri vessels. 15 years of her life had led to this moment. 15 years of secrets, sacrifice, and work in the hidden laboratories beneath the lunar surface. "Systems check complete," called out her assistant, Dr. Alan West. "All ships reporting ready status." Olivia nodded without taking her eyes off the display. She was 43 now, with streaks of gray in her once dark hair. When she first joined Project Prometheus as a brilliant young engineer, she had been full of idealism. Now she carried the weight of humanity's survival on her shoulders. "Open a channel to the Deterrent," she said. Admiral Diana Evans appeared. On the screen, her face showed tension but also fierce determination. "Diana, the weapon systems are ready," Olivia said, "but we've never tested them in actual combat." "Let's hope the Vaxuri don't know that," Diana replied. "What's your assessment?" Olivia took a deep breath. "Based on our scans, their shield technology is advanced, but not as advanced as we feared. The quantum disruptor should be effective." The quantum disruptor had been the most difficult technology to reverse engineer from the crashed alien ship, found in Arizona. It fired energy that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously, making it nearly impossible to shield against. "The Vaxuri are moving," Alan said suddenly. 3 of their smaller ships are breaking formation. On the display, the red dots began to shift. The alien vessels were spreading out, trying to break the encirclement. "They're heading toward Earth," Diana said, her voice tight. "Looks like they want to make good on their threat." Olivia felt a cold certainty settle in her stomach. The moment of truth had arrived. "Admiral, you need to activate the defense grid now." Diana nodded and gave commands to her crew. Across the Earth-Moon system, hidden defense platforms powered up. What looked like ordinary communication satellites revealed weapon arrays. Ground-based lasers emerged from mountain bunkers. The first Vexuri ship fired at Earth, a brilliant beam of energy lancing down toward the atmosphere. Before it could reach its target, a shimmering field appeared in its path. The beam struck the energy shield and diffused harmlessly. "The planetary shield is holding," Alan reported, excitement in his voice. "Power levels at 97%. The aliens fired again, this time with multiple ships concentrating their weapons on a single point. The shield flickered but remained intact. "They're probing for weaknesses," Olivia said. "Diana, we should strike now while they're bunched up." On the main screen, the Vexuri commander appeared again. High Commander Vexorn looked genuinely surprised, his alien features twisted in what Olivia interpreted as frustration. "Impossible," he said. "A planetary shield of this magnitude would require technology your species cannot possess." Diana stepped into view of the camera on her ship. "As you can see, Commander, we are full of surprises. This is your final warning. Leave Earth space now or we will be forced to respond to your aggression," the alien commander hissed, showing sharp teeth. "The Vaxuri Dominion does not retreat. Your defenses will fall eventually." The transmission cut off. Immediately, the Vaxuri fleet began a coordinated attack, dozens of energy beams firing simultaneously at Earth's shield. "Shield power dropping," Alan called out. 89%, 82%. Olivia made her decision. "Admiral Evans, authorize Helios Protocol." Diana hesitated only for a second. She had command authority, but Olivia had designed the weapons. If she was calling for Helios now, the situation was dire. "Helios Protocol authorized," Diana confirmed. "Targeting main Vaxuri vessels. Throughout the solar system, hidden weapons platforms oriented toward the alien fleet. Unlike conventional weapons, these didn't fire missiles or energy beams. Instead, they released millions of microscopic drones, each carrying a quantum charge. 3. Drones were invisible to sensors moving through space like a cloud of dust. When they reached the Vaxuri ships, they attached to the hulls and began to phase through the metal, bypassing shields entirely. "Helios swarms have reached targets," Alan reported. "Phase through complete, detonation in 5 seconds." Olivia watched as the lead Vaxuri vessels suddenly stopped firing. Their shields flickered and died as the quantum charges disrupted their power systems. The ships didn't explode in dramatic fashion. They simply went dark, drifting helplessly. In space. 8 capital ships disabled, Alan said, his voice full of disbelief. "It worked, Dr. Barnes. It actually worked." Olivia allowed herself a small smile. "Of course it worked, but they still have 9 capital ships and those fighters." On the display, the remaining Vaxuri vessels regrouped, changing tactics. They stopped firing at Earth and instead concentrated their attack on the nearest Earth ships. The USS Valor took a direct hit, its shields flaring bright blue before stabilizing. The Earth ships returned fire, conventional weapons blazing alongside. "The new quantum technology. Incoming transmission," Alan said. "It's from one of the disabled Vaxuri ships." A different alien face appeared on screen, this one looking older than Vexorn, with deeper ridges on its forehead. "I am Sub-Commander Krell of the Vaxuri 8th Fleet," the alien said. "Our main systems are disabled. We request cessation of hostilities to discuss terms." Diana looked to Olivia, who nodded slightly. "This is Admiral Evans. We agree to a temporary ceasefire to discuss your withdrawal from Earth space." The alien sub-commander seemed to struggle with his next words. "You must understand the Dominion has never encountered resistance of this nature. We were told your world would fall easily. Whoever gave you that information was wrong," Diana said firmly. "Humanity does not submit easily." After the transmission ended, Olivia allowed herself to breathe normally, for the first time in hours. The battle wasn't over, But the first exchange had gone better than she had dared hope. "Alan, get me a complete damage report from all our ships," she said, "and prep the second wave of Helios drones, just in case." On the main screen, the disabled Vaxuri ships floated like dead sea creatures, dark against the starfield. The remaining alien vessels had pulled back, maintaining distance while they assessed this unexpected turn of events. Humanity had survived first contact with a hostile alien species, not through diplomacy, but through careful planning and hidden strength. Olivia thought about all the nights she had worked until dawn, all the family events she had missed, all the normal life she had sacrificed for Project Prometheus. It had been worth it. Earth still stood. And somewhere out there, other alien empires would soon learn that humans weren't the easy conquest they appeared to be. Captain Ryan Pierce sat in the command chair of the USS Intrepid, watching the Vaxuri ships on his tactical display. The ceasefire had lasted 3 hours. Now the alien fleet was moving again, breaking into smaller groups and spreading out across the Earth-Moon system. "They're trying to find weak spots in our defense network," Ryan said, running a hand through his short brown hair. "Classic divide and conquer strategy." Lieutenant Nancy Palmer nodded at her tactical station. "Standard approach against a numerically superior force, but they're being predictable." Ryan smiled slightly. At 35, he was young for a ship captain, but his unorthodox thinking had earned him command of one of Earth's most advanced vessels. The Intrepid was smaller than the main battleships, designed for speed and stealth rather than head-on confrontation. "Nancy, what do we know about their communication systems?" he asked. "They use encrypted quantum channels similar to ours but with some differences in the base algorithms," she replied. "Our AI systems have been analyzing their patterns since they arrived." Ryan leaned forward. "Can we intercept their transmissions? Maybe send false orders?" Nancy looked surprised, then thoughtful. "It's not impossible. Give me an hour with the tech team." Ryan nodded. "Do it. In the meantime, Ben, take us behind Luna's far side. I want to disappear from their sensors." Lieutenant Ben Hayes, the ship's pilot, guided the Intrepid into the moon's shadow. The ship's stealth systems activated, making them nearly invisible to conventional scans. Ryan opened a secure channel to Admiral Evans on the deterrent. "Admiral, the Vaxuri are spreading out their forces. I think they're preparing for another attack. We might be able to disrupt their command structure by hacking their communications." Diana's face showed approval. "Do it, Captain. In the meantime, I'm deploying our main fleet to protect Earth. The civilian evacuation to the underground shelters is proceeding." After the call ended, Ryan gathered his senior officers in the tactical room. Along with Nancy and Ben, there was Dr. Liam Foster, the ship's science officer, and Lieutenant Maria Gonzalez in charge of engineering. "The Vaxuri fight like they've never faced a real opponent," Ryan explained, pointing to the holographic display of enemy movements. "They rely on overwhelming force and strict hierarchical command. That's their weakness," he outlined his plan. While the main Earth fleet engaged the Vaxuri in conventional battle, the Intrepid would slip behind enemy lines and create chaos in their command structure. "It's risky," Maria said. "If they detect us, we'll be outnumbered and cut off from support." "Which is why we won't let them detect us," Ryan replied confidently. 2 hours later, the Intrepid slipped silently through space, its advanced stealth systems making it all but invisible against the backdrop of stars. They had positioned themselves near the rear of the Vaxuri formation, close to what appeared to be a command relay ship. "Ready with the signal intercept package," Nancy reported from her station. "Shields and weapons on standby," Ben added. Ryan took a deep breath. "Execute." The Intrepid's specialized equipment began broadcasting carefully crafted signals designed to mimic Vaxuri command protocols. At the same time, they introduced subtle distortions into the aliens' genuine communications. On the main screen, Ryan watched as confusion spread through the enemy fleet. Some ships began moving in contradictory patterns. Others powered down weapons unexpectedly. "It's working," Nancy said, excitement in her voice. "They're receiving our false orders. 2 groups of fighters are moving away from Earth's defense perimeter." "Good," Ryan said. "Now for Phase 2. The Intrepid's engines flared to life as they moved quickly to a new position. This time, they targeted the main Vaxuri flagship, the vessel carrying High Commander Vexorn himself. "Deploy electronic warfare package," Ryan ordered. The ship released a swarm of tiny drones, each programmed to attach to the flagship's hull and transmit false sensor data. Soon, the Vaxuri command ship would be seeing phantom Earth vessels all around it, while real threats would be masked. "Drones away," Nancy confirmed. "Impact in 30 seconds. The bridge crew waited tensely. If the drones were detected before they reached their target, the Intrepid would lose the element of surprise. "Drones have attached successfully," Liam reported after a tense minute. "The flagship's sensors are being flooded with false readings." On the tactical display, the Vaxuri flagship suddenly began firing at empty space, its powerful weapons hitting nothing but vacuum. "Open a channel to Admiral Evans," Ryan said. "Tell her the flagship is compromised. Now's the time to strike." The main Earth fleet moved immediately, concentrating fire on the confused Vaxuri ships. Without clear commands from their leader, the alien vessels fell into disarray. "The flagship is trying to clear its systems," Nancy warned. "They're running diagnostic programs to identify our intrusion," Ryan nodded. "They're adapting faster than expected. Time for us to make a more visible statement." He leaned forward in his chair. "Bring weapons online. Target the flagship's communication array only." The Intrepid decloaked suddenly, appearing, seemingly from nowhere directly above the massive Vaxuri flagship. Before the aliens could react, the Earthship fired a precision strike that destroyed the external communication antennas without significantly damaging the vessel itself. "Direct hit," Nancy reported. "Their main communication system is offline. They're switching to secondary channels, but those are compromised by our virus." Ryan allowed himself a small smile. "Send the message we prepared." Throughout the Vaxuri fleet, on every screen and communication device, the face of Captain Ryan Pierce appeared. He looked calm, confident, and completely unafraid. "Attention Vaxuri forces," he said. "Your command structure has been compromised. Your flagship is cut off. Your sensors are showing you ghosts. This is not a battle you can win through conventional means." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You came to our system expecting an easy conquest. You found instead a species that has spent its entire history learning to fight, adapt, and overcome. We have studied your tactics. We have countered your technology, and we have only shown you a fraction of our capabilities." The Intrepid's engines flared as it executed a maneuver that should have been impossible for a ship its size, evading incoming fire from Vaxuri vessels that had finally identified its position. "You have 1 hour to surrender or leave our system," Ryan continued. "After that, we will no longer show restraint." The transmission cut off. Ryan turned to his bridge crew. "Now comes the hard part. Evasive maneuvers get us back to our lines." The Intrepid accelerated away from the flagship, weaving through enemy fire with precision that reflected both advanced technology and exceptional piloting. From the safety of Earth orbit, Admiral Evans watched the tactical display with growing hope. The Vaxuri fleet's cohesion was breaking down. Individual ship commanders were acting independently, some retreating, others pressing attacks without coordination. High Commander Vexorn, his face twisted with rage, appeared on an emergency channel. "This deception changes nothing. The Dominion will not be defeated by tricks." But even as he spoke, more of his ships were going dark, disabled by quantum weapons or retreating from the battle. For the first time in its long history of conquest, the Vaxuri Dominion was facing not just defeat but humiliation. And it had all started with one captain who understood that wars aren't always won by the strongest, but often by the most creative. General Michelle Douglas stood in the Lunar Command Center, watching the massive battle unfold across the displays that covered the walls. Earth's defenders were fighting well, but they were still outnumbered. The Vaxuri had brought more ships than anyone had expected. "Status report," she demanded, her voice calm despite the tension in the room. Colonel Frank Rivera looked up from his console. "The Chinese-European fleet has engaged the enemy contingent near Jupiter. They've disabled 3 Vaxuri cruisers but lost the Beijing." Michelle nodded grimly. The Beijing had been a good ship with over 300 crew members. Each loss hit hard. The Yao, Russian-Indian coalition has pushed back the forces near Venus, Frank continued. American and African ships are holding the line at Mars. For the first time in human history, Earth stood truly united. Old rivalries and conflicts had been set aside when the Vaxuri appeared. Nations that had once pointed nuclear weapons at each other now fought side by side against a common enemy. What about the Intrepid? Michelle asked. Captain Pierce's daring raid had thrown the Vaxuri into confusion, but at great risk. They took damage but managed to return to friendly lines, Frank reported. The ship is undergoing emergency repairs at Lunar Base 2. Michelle walked to the large central hologram showing the entire solar system. Red dots represented Vaxuri ships, blue dots showed Earth vessels, and yellow marked Allied planetary defense stations. The situation looked better than it had 3 hours ago, but victory was far from certain. The Vaxuri are regrouping, she observed. They're adapting to our tactics faster than expected. The alien ships were forming new patterns, no longer relying on direct commands from their flagship. They had learned from their mistakes, and were now fighting in smaller, more independent units. Michelle had spent 30 years in military service. She had fought in the water wars of the 2060s and commanded peacekeeping forces during the African unification. She understood that wars were won not just by weapons, but by will and adaptability. Open a channel to all Earth forces, she ordered. When the communication officer nodded, Michelle stood straight and addressed her forces. This is General Douglas to all Earth Defense Forces. The enemy is regrouping for another push. They're learning our tactics, but remember, humans have been fighting wars since we picked up the first stone. Adaptation is in our blood. She paused, looking at the faces of her staff. They were tired but determined. Execute Operation Rolling Thunder, all units acknowledge. Across the solar system, Earth commanders responded. Operation Rolling Thunder was a complex strategy that Michelle had developed years ago for just this scenario. Instead of meeting the enemy head-on, Earth's forces would strike rapidly from multiple directions, never staying in one place long enough to be pinned down. General, a communications officer called out suddenly, we're receiving a transmission from outside the solar system. It's not Vaxuri. Michelle felt her heart race. Had the Vaxuri called for reinforcements? Put it through, she ordered. The main screen flickered, and a new alien face appeared. This creature looked nothing like the reptilian Vaxuri. It had a humanoid appearance with smooth blue skin and large expressive eyes. People of Earth, I am Ambassador Kelnar of the Navali Confederation, the alien said in carefully pronounced English. We have been monitoring your conflict with the Vaxuri Dominion. Michelle stepped forward. This is General Michelle Douglas of Earth United Command. We're a bit busy at the moment, Ambassador. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. Indeed, General. That is why we are contacting you. The Vaxuri are our ancient enemies. They conquered our homeworld 3 centuries ago and have held our people in subjugation since. Michelle began to understand. And you see an opportunity in our resistance? The first real opportunity in generations, Kelnar confirmed. We have ships stationed at the edge of your system. We offer our assistance in driving the Vaxuri from your world, and perhaps in time, from ours as well. Michelle didn't hesitate. We welcome your help, Ambassador. Send coordinates for your fleet and we'll make sure our forces don't fire on your ships. As the transmission ended, excited murmurs filled the command center. Frank Rivera looked at Michelle with wonder. Did we just form an alliance with another alien species, he asked. Michelle nodded. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, a principle that apparently works across galaxies. Within an hour, the first Navali ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. They were elegant vessels with sleek, curved lines that contrasted sharply with the angular Vaxuri ships. Their weapons immediately began targeting the rear of the Vaxuri formation. High Commander Vexorn appeared on an emergency channel, his face showing genuine shock. You conspire with the Navali slaves? This is an abomination. We didn't reach out to them, Michelle replied calmly. Your reputation preceded you, Commander. Perhaps you should have considered how your history of conquest might create common cause among your victims. The battle took on a new dimension as Navali ships, intimately familiar with Vaxuri tactics and technology, joined the fight. The aliens, who had expected an easy conquest, now found themselves caught between a species they had underestimated and a former slave race seeking revenge. In the command center, Michelle received word that the Navali commander was requesting permission to board the lunar base for direct coordination. "Grant it," she ordered, "and prepare our translation systems." An hour later, Michelle stood face-to-face with Commander Zelvor of the Navali Liberation Force. The alien was taller than she had expected, nearly 7 feet in height, but moved with a graceful elegance that belied his size. "Your resistance surprised us, General," Zelvor said after formal greetings had been exchanged. "The Vaxuri told stories of your planet, a divided world of primitive beings who would surrender at the first show of force." Michelle smiled thinly. They should have studied our history more carefully. Together, human and Navali commanders bent over the tactical displays, combining their knowledge and strengths. The Navali understood Vaxuri technology and weaknesses. Humans contributed unpredictable strategies and fierce determination. By the time the unified Earth Navali fleet launched its coordinated attack, Supreme Admiral Khazar, who had replaced the disgraced Vexorn, knew the invasion had failed. His ships were being systematically disabled or destroyed. The once mighty Dominion fleet was in retreat. "We underestimated them," Khazar admitted to his sub-commanders. "Not just their technology, but their spirit, and we never anticipated they would find common cause with the Navali." As the last functional Vaxuri ships fled the solar system, pursued by Navali cruisers, celebrations erupted across Earth. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged, not just intact but with new allies among the stars. In the Lunar Command Center, Michelle Douglas watched the retreating enemy ships on the display. This wasn't the end. The Vaxuri would return someday, perhaps with a larger force. But Earth would be ready, and they would no longer face the stars alone. 5 years after the Battle of Sol, Commander Eric Walsh stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, watching ships from a dozen different species dock at what had become the diplomatic center of the newly formed Galactic Coalition. The massive space station orbited Earth at the L5 Lagrange point, its curved arms extending like a flower opening to the stars. "Quite a view, isn't it?" asked Ambassador Kelly Bryant, joining him by the viewport. Eric nodded, his eyes tracking a sleek Navali cruiser as it glided into one of the larger docking bays. Hard to believe this all started with an attempted invasion. Kelly smiled. At 42, she had the confidence of someone who had faced the worst and survived. Before the Vaxuri came, she had been a diplomat working on Earth's persistent conflicts. Now she represented humanity to the stars. "The Vaxuri delegation arrives tomorrow," she said. "Their new government is finally ready to join the coalition." Eric raised an eyebrow. "Are we sure about this? After everything they did?" Kelly's expression grew serious. "The old military junta is gone, Eric. The new Vaxuri Federation is a constitutional government. The species they once ruled are now equal partners in their society. It hadn't been easy. After their defeat at Earth, the Vaxuri Dominion had collapsed from within. Inspired by humanity's example, the Navali had led a rebellion across Vaxuri space. Other subjugated species had joined them. The war had lasted 3 years and cost millions of lives. In the end, Earth ships had helped negotiate the peace. Humans had become unexpected mediators in a conflict spanning multiple star systems. Earth's unique history, full of revolutions, reforms, and rebuilding, had prepared them for this role. Ambassador Bryant, to diplomatic reception, announced, "The station's communication system. The Arcturus delegation has arrived." Kelly straightened her formal jacket. "Duty calls. Will you be at the dinner tonight?" Eric nodded. Admiral Carter insisted all senior military personnel attend. He wants to show the flag. After Kelly left, Eric continued his quiet observation of the station's activities. At 38, he had seen more of the galaxy than he had ever dreamed possible as a child in rural Ohio. The Vaxuri invasion had changed everything, not just for him, but for all of humanity. The door to the observation deck slid open, and Admiral John Carter, walked in. His hair had more gray now, and new lines marked his face, but he carried himself with the same quiet authority that had helped Earth survive first contact. "Thinking deep thoughts, Commander?" John asked, joining Eric at the viewport. Eric smiled. "Just reflecting on how far we've come, sir." John looked out at the busy traffic around the station. Ships of all designs moved in carefully coordinated patterns. Among them were the distinctive shapes of Earth vessels, no longer just warships, but explorers, diplomats, and builders. "5 years ago they came to conquer us," John said softly. "Now we sit at the center of an interstellar alliance. History is full of ironies." Below them, Earth shone like a blue jewel. The scars of the brief orbital bombardment had healed. Cities that had been damaged were rebuilt, often with the help of alien technology freely shared by the Navali and other new allies. "The Vaxuri never understood what they were dealing with," Eric observed. "They saw our divisions and thought we were weak." John nodded. They had conquered so many worlds that surrender seemed inevitable to them. They couldn't imagine a species that would unite and fight back so fiercely. The Admiral checked his watch. "I need to review security for tomorrow's arrival. The Vaxuri ambassador is still controversial in some quarters." After John left, Eric remained at the viewport, lost in thought. Humanity had changed profoundly in the years since the invasion. The old nation still existed, but Earth now spoke with one voice to the stars. The United Earth government coordinated everything from defense to trade with other species. "Commander Walsh?" A young ensign approached, saluting. "Your shuttle to Earth is ready, sir." Eric thanked her and gathered his things. He was due at the Beijing Memorial dedication the next day. The monument honored the crew of the Chinese-European ship that had sacrificed themselves to protect Earth's civilian populations during the battle. As his shuttle descended toward Earth, Eric thought about how close they had come to disaster. If Dr. Barnes hadn't developed the quantum weapons, if Captain Pierce hadn't disrupted the Vaxuri command structure, if General Douglas hadn't united Earth's forces, if Ambassador Bryant hadn't negotiated the alliance with the Navali, any link in that chain could have broken, and Earth might now be just another conquered world in the Vaxuri Dominion. Instead, the Dominion itself was gone, replaced by a federation of equals. The shuttle passed through clouds and approached the landing pad near the new United Earth Government headquarters in Geneva. From his window, Eric could see people from all nations working together, moving with purpose. In the distance stood the monument to First Contact, a simple black obelisk engraved with the names of those who had died defending Earth. After landing, Eric made his way to the diplomatic reception, already underway in the main hall. Representatives from Earth's nations mingled with ambassadors from a dozen alien species. The room hummed with dozens of languages, all being seamlessly translated through small devices worn behind each person's ear. Eric spotted Dr. Olivia Barnes deep in conversation with a Navali scientist. Her work on quantum physics had expanded, dramatically with input from alien researchers. Together, they were developing technologies that would have been impossible for either species alone. Nearby, Captain Ryan Pierce was entertaining a group of young officer candidates with stories from the battle. Though the details grew more impressive with each telling, the core truth remained. Humanity had prevailed through creativity and determination as much as through technology. General Michelle Douglas stood with the Navali commander Zelvor, now the head of the coalition's Joint Defense Force. They had formed an unlikely friendship, two warriors from different worlds united by common values. And at the center of it all, Ambassador Kelly Bryant moved gracefully from group to group, making introductions and strengthening the bonds that held this new interstellar community together. Eric accepted a drink from a passing server and raised it in a silent toast to everyone in the room. The Vaxuri had expected Earth to submit. Instead, humanity had transformed the very stars themselves. Tomorrow, the former conquerors would join the coalition as equals. It was not forgiveness, too much blood had been spilled for that, but it was progress. A new way forward that neither humans nor Vaxuri could have imagined on their own. The galaxy had expected Earth to be just another conquered world. Instead, humanity had changed the rules of the game entirely. Earth hadn't just survived, it had helped create something better than what had existed before. As conversation and laughter filled the hall, Eric thought that perhaps this was humanity's greatest strength. Not the ability to fight, but the ability to imagine different futures and then make them real.